WTOB's Small Business Spotlight is on the air. Today you'll hear from Chris Michalak from Parkway Tech and Nathan DeBagno from At Work Personnel. WTOB's Small Business Spotlight is brought to you by IT company not calling you back? Partner with Parkway Tech today and save time and money on the IT solutions that help you work more efficiently than ever before. For information, call Parkway Tech at 336-310-9888 or visit parkwaytech.com. By King Latham Law. Need a fierce warrior with a big heart fighting for your business? Call King Latham Law, 336-419-1151. When you think law, think King Latham. They will be on your side. Fortified Futures. Fortified Futures understands each client is unique and faces different challenges. If you have financial needs, call Fortified Futures at 336-450-2161. Rest assured, your future is fortified. Here's your host, Josh Sheminsky.
Good morning. This is Josh Sheminsky, WTOB Small Business Spotlight. Today I have Chris Michalak from Parkway Tech. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Josh.
So, Chris, please tell me your story and the story of your business, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So my story begins actually in eastern North Carolina when I was a teenager. I was looking for a job. I was really interested in computers and found a local company there that was doing computer repair. This was the late 90s, so that was really the height of everything I remember. And asked for a job. And the company said, well, we're interested, but we'd rather have you come on as an intern and see if you're any good because, I'm not just going to pay, I think I was 14 at the time. I'm not going to pay some 14-year-old kid, and we'll just give you a few bucks and some store credit and we'll see how you work out. And, well, a week later I was offered a position, so anytime I was out of school, I could come in and get actual hours, get actual pay, and learned just a ton there about computers, about the business, about how to deal with customers and keep them satisfied, fixing issues. And from there, I maintained my interest in technology, ended up moving up to Ohio, and took a job with a chain of computer stores there that was local. And just a few years after that, we were moving down to Virginia, newly married with my wife, and was in a small town in southwest Virginia, realized there was no computer store there, and hey, I think I'd like to try my hand at that and start my own business. And from there came Parkway Tech, the company that I'm the owner of and is still around now, some 13 years later.
So you're a fellow geek. That's very nice to know. You're in good company. So tell me the story of Parkway Tech. You've been around 13 years, and I know what you do, but could you please tell the public what you do and what kind of services you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, Parkway Tech is kind of a concierge IT service, so especially small businesses in the triad that don't have the money for a full-time IT staff. They'll hire a company like ours, and we'll take care of things. One of our big areas that we focus on is cybersecurity, because that's a big hot topic, something that's on everybody's mind. And so we've really kind of started to carve out our niche there, because there are a lot of folks that do what we do, but for that cybersecurity piece, keeping organizations safe from hackers, from even internal data theft, things like that, it's a big deal, and it's something that we really hang our hat on.
So cybersecurity is would you call that your differentiator to what everyone else does, or do you have something else that makes you better than the competition?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that's our differentiator. We've put together a couple of powerful cybersecurity bundles that fit small business budgets, because that's been a big issue in cybersecurity for the past decade. If you were in the enterprise, you certainly had the money to spend on it, and those were where the solutions were targeted, because that's where the money was. But poor small businesses were left out in the cold, told, hey, install Norton, install McAfee, live with it. And what we wanted to do was provide something that solved the key issues that an organization will have around cybersecurity while still keeping it budget friendly, so nobody's breaking the bank or saying, well, great, now how am I going to make payroll?
And if I remember right, you're all cloud-based, correct?
We are all cloud-based. That is correct.
So is cybersecurity easier or more difficult in a cloud-based situation?
It's got its own sets of challenges. I would say there's certain elements that are more difficult. So especially as folks have transitioned to working from home, and we think that that's probably a lot of the new normal for folks, it has been a challenge because now you've got all these other networks and home networks that you've got to worry about and devices and where are people connecting from. So the cloud is fantastic, but the issue becomes it's available to anybody. So if somebody gets your credentials, they don't have to be at your office to log in. They can just log in from anywhere.
So you have to VPN into your own cloud?
There's VPN as part of the security, as well as things like two-factor authentication, the little codes you get sent as text message. Yep. Those are just essential elements of it.
Well, I understand that, but you might want to expand on that for the average person listening.
Absolutely. So a virtual private network creates just kind of like a tunnel over the basic internet and protects all your data. Nobody can see. So think about it, an impenetrable tunnel. There's no radar that can look in or anything like that. And then that way, when you're grabbing data from your office or maybe from the cloud, it's all secure. Nobody can snoop in and see it. Nobody's going to have access to that. So you don't have to worry like if you were on public Wi-Fi without a VPN that somebody can just be sitting right over at the table next to you looking at everything you're sending.
Yes. Don't go to on your bank account from public Wi-Fi. Not a good idea.
Exactly.
So being in a virtual private network, you can protect people's packets in their emails. Not many people know what packets are, but you might want to expand on that. That's where a lot of people get their information stolen from.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all it takes is somebody to be able to sniff those packets is actually what we call it. So they're looking in, and because those packets are filled with data. It's just little ones and zeros, but computers that's what computer data is made of, and somebody can pull that in and look at it. So the VPN shields that. And then that way nobody can see it. And then, of course, it's also important that folks use secure passwords because the VPN's only as good, too, as your passwords. If somebody gets your password, they can get into the VPN and see what you're exchanging there as well.
Do you use programs like 1Password or stuff like that for your clients?
We do recommend, password managers. I've got over 600 in my password manager alone, and I can't imagine trying to keep track of that and do what you're supposed to do with Unique. So LastPass, 1Password, those are both great services. I use 1Password myself, but I recently switched over to LastPass as kind of a backup in case something ever changes. Then I've got two places with my passwords that's nice and secure.
So tell me a little more about your team. How many people you have on your team, and are you looking for any more players on your team?
Absolutely. So we've got 5 total. That's counting myself. Heavily on the technical side, of course. I've got one admin person, and I kind of do the management and then help out with big tech projects. But otherwise, my team helps out with that. There's 3 of those, and most of them have been with me long term. Everybody's been well over a year at this point. I've got one guy that's next week is 7 years with me. So it's been nice to be able to retain those. We're always looking for people, and especially we've seen cybersecurity. These new bundles we've come out with have really been well received, and so we're starting to get more projects from that, which is fantastic. But that's going to definitely necessitate some hires soon, which I'm looking forward to. I love employing people.
So these new bundles, what's in the bundles?
Yeah, well, so it's a mix of security, software, and services and best practices, kind of all bundled together. And we've got a starter level and advanced. I'm going to avoid any sort of technical thing or software specifics. Don't want anybody to fall asleep here this morning just as they're waking up if they haven't had their coffee. But we've got email security in there. That's one of the big areas that hackers get in. And then also just security for your laptops or your desktops. And if you have any servers at your office, those as well, to protect those sorts of things. And what these software tools that we use do, they just look at all sorts of logs that your system keeps, look at activity, and they're trying to spot something that's outside the normal, whether it's something that we know is bad or something that just looks suspicious, and then that way we can be alerted and investigate.
So I'm going to ask an off-topic question. Workstations, pro or against?
They're still needed in some way, shape, or form to connect.
Sounds like you're against.
Yeah, but There's always security issues with the workstations. You've got to keep them up. But like at this point, the way we structure our setup for our internal team is we have little cloud remote desktops that we log into. So we're logging in from our own workstations, but we're less worried about security there because everything's in the cloud. We've got that VPN and we've got extra security layers in that cloud to authenticate that somebody's logging in. It is who they say they are.
So tell me, someone coming up in the field, one, what would you recommend them going into? Is cybersecurity the new thing to get into? Two, what would you suggest for them as a path?
So cybersecurity is by far the biggest thing. I think when I last looked, there were 400,000 cybersecurity positions in the U.S. unfilled. So there is a great opportunity. Salaries are rising in that area as well. So it's a good career path there. There's quite a bit of upward momentum. Just from what I know from following people in the industry, you can see that folks will be with the company 6-8 months. And if they do well, they can already start to move up. It's not a lengthy process. And as far as the career path, I mean, obviously there's tons of different cybersecurity programs, but a lot of it you can do with the magic of the internet and some YouTube videos. You can start to get familiar just with your own computer and your own systems and to go through that sort of thing.
To be hired on by Parkway Tech, what kind of background would you need?
So for Parkway Tech, we don't require any sort of degree for our sorts of hires, but we do want to see commensurate experience if you don't have a degree, because then we need to know, hey, you can do what you say you can do. We have little tests and things that we'll do to make sure somebody can do the job and to establish where they're at technical-wise, and then that allows us to say, okay, yep, this is a good hire, and this is where we need to train from here.
So you don't want the house mom who can't log onto a computer to be your worker.
There needs to be a passion for technology and some experience, no doubt.
So what type of industries is good for Parkway Tech?
So we work a lot with law firms in the area. That's been a real good area for us. We enjoy working with attorneys and paralegals. And then additionally, we work with some nonprofits in the area. We like to help out, so we'll reduce our rates there to make sure they're taken care of and budgets not having to be stretched even thinner. Those are the two big areas that we focus on. And then we've got some clients in construction and medical just kind of around.
So you have about a minute to make a pitch to all the businesses that are listening to us. And so let's hear your pitch and try to sell them to get your phone ringing.
Absolutely. So happy to do it. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Well, you are a sponsor. I got to give you some opportunity.
So for us, the big thing that we don't want to see is these attacks that happen to small businesses, whether it's ransomware that we may be familiar with. You get that little thing pops up and says, hey, all your files have been encrypted, and you try to open something and it won't. We've seen email compromises, attempted like wire fraud in the millions of dollars to be perpetrated via compromised email account. We don't want to see that, because for a small business, your reputation's everything, and you're not going to have the resources to defend against that on your own. You're not going to have a big cybersecurity team. So what we want to do is bring that to you to protect you, so you don't have any reputation loss. You can sleep easy at night knowing your systems are protected, and that your staff's not going to be interrupted when they come in the morning with the servers being completely encrypted, because we've seen it happen to organizations large and small businesses increasingly are being attacked by this.
Well, thank you for the time. I really appreciate you coming in, and you're always a wealth of knowledge when I speak to you, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
WTOB's Small Business Spotlight is brought to you by Sherlock CRM. Tired of out-of-the-box CRMs that don't relate to your company's needs? Sherlock CRM develops custom-based solutions using a forensic interview with key users from your company. Try the demo at SherlockCRM.com. Sherlock CRM finds answers for your business. By Forsyth County Habitat for Humanity Restores. The Restores need your good reusable furniture or home goods. For your free donation pickup, call 336-893-8494. You too can help Habitat eliminate substandard housing. Is company productivity and efficiency on your daily IT worry list? Reach out to Parkway Tech today and leave your IT worries behind. Customized business solutions built by experts. Call 336-310-9888 or visit parkwaytech.com to learn more about what Parkway Tech can do for you. By King Latham Law. Need a fierce warrior with a big heart for your business? Call King Latham Law. When you think law, think Latham. King Latham Law. Always on your side. 336-419-1151.
Welcome back for our second segment. This morning we have in the studio Nathan DeBagno from At Work Personnel. Good morning, Nathan.
Good morning, Josh. Thanks for having me on.
So, Nathan, please tell me your story and the story of At Work Personnel.
Yeah, so At Work Personnel is a staffing and recruiting company here in Winston-Salem. Focus on finding work for people and helping companies grow by finding the right employees. We started in the end of 2015, beginning of 2016. But the story I actually came from the newspaper industry. I had been in all types of positions, a little over a decade. My career spanned a little over a decade in the newspaper industry. I've been a reporter, editor, moved it over to the business side, was in sales, was in management. I went from, in span of I think about 5 years, from really overseeing no one to then being a general manager / editor and having about 12 employees, then having 22 employees that I oversaw, then eventually having 50 employees that I oversaw. So I love the industry. But it's a really fast declining industry in terms of revenue, has some of the hardest working people, and I knew I needed to look for a career change.
So, explain how you got to At Work then, from there.
Yeah, so I knew I needed to make a career change, but I love the industry. I had also, for a few years before I left the newspaper industry, had the desire to start my own business and be an entrepreneur, but I didn't necessarily know at first what I wanted to be. So I remember seeing an ad at one point, a few years before I started At Work, for a staffing agency, and thinking that would be really cool to do someday. A couple years later, when I really realized I needed to leave the industry, I hated to do that. I decided, what better industry than the staffing industry? I just thought this is an industry that's all about hiring people. It's about recruiting, coaching the employees when you have the right employees on board. Sometimes the less fun part is sometimes firing people or going through the disciplinary system. But for the most part, it's a really fun industry. So I thought, what better industry to get in than the staffing industry that really focuses completely about people. When it comes down to it, I think a business, the most important thing to any business, more than its vision, its material, its machinery, I think is really its people. So that's the most important part of indie industry, and so I was really privileged to get into that. So I found the franchise. At Work Personnel is franchise-based. We have about 80 to 90 locations throughout the country. We're locally owned, so I wanted to start my own business, but I didn't really want to reinvent the wheel. So started really purchased a territory here. Started it from scratch, and it's been a really good experience here in Winston-Salem.
Yeah, so you're unlike me. I keep reinventing my wheel. Every year seems to be adding things to my repertoire.
Right. Yes, I always think that looks cool on Shark Tank when people come up with new ideas, but I'm not really that risky. I like to play it safe and follow a proven method. So,
At Work Personnel, what makes you guys a differentiator to your competition?
Yeah, so there are a few things. That's a really good question. A few things. The first one, I would say, the fact that we are locally owned, even though we have basic systems and processes that we follow to be successful. Like we mentioned, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. We are still locally owned. We can still follow our own system to a certain extent. I think the fact that we are locally owned really makes us much more invested in our clients. We really have to be successful. We all live work, and go to church here here in the community. So that would be the first thing is the fact that we're locally owned. We tried really hard to be flexible, not to be overly rigid with our clients. I've worked in the corporate environment before where that was really overly centralized, and we had a lot of excessive rules that we had to follow. So we really try hard to be flexible, follow really what our clients' needs are. We're also when we recruit and when we interview employees, we work hard to focus on some of the more subjective elements, not just work history and how many years you worked at such and such a company, but we also focus on general things like attitude and some of the more soft skills and cultural fit and things like that, which is easy to say, but it's really hard to implement. But that's something that we're good at.
So you're saying your secret sauce is the relationships you build with your people you place and the companies you place them.
Right. Yes. We want to be very relationship oriented. I believe strongly in going out and meeting with the clients and talking with them on the phone when I can. Email and all that has its place, but yes, I believe in carefully listening to what our clients need, and most importantly, not having a one-size-fits-all attitude toward whatever their needs are.
And knowing you, I know integrity and transparency are big keys to running your business.
Yes. Well, I'd like to think so. I believe integrity and treating others is much more important than making money. I would definitely advise anyone going into business or really any career, any job, for someone to focus first of all on taking care of others and really loving others, and not just focusing on yourself. I think in the long run we can see what has happened with either small businesses or large corporations when they value either just self-fulfillment or the love of money above the people that they are serving.
Yeah. Sam Walton, when he originally built Walmart, built it for the workers, and he had a rule back then that he can't have a salary a certain percentage over the lowest paid employee. So he built it on the relationships they had with those employees.
Yes, yeah, that's great, and that's something you need to constantly be introspective about, and you need to constantly work on. It's easy to say, but it's important to work hard on that, to live that every day. And I'm a Christian. I do believe in whatever you do and making sure to glorify God with that, and it takes daily work.
So what kind of industries does at-work personnel thrive in?
Yes, we have worked with a lot of manufacturers, a lot of warehouses. I really love working with manufacturers and seeing how they make the product. That's a lot of fun. Also, really, this market, Winston Salem, the whole triad, is a really strong industrial manufacturing market. I'd say it's definitely one of the stronger markets actually in the country in terms of manufacturing and distribution. So there are a lot of hard workers in this area. So those are our primary ones, not necessarily because that's what we wanted to do, but we follow, like probably most businesses do, we follow where the market need is and where the demand is. We also work some with law firms, placing some paralegals. We work some with retailers and a few other industries. Those have been our primary ones, so the manufacturing and the warehouses. So what's the trend in employment in the triad right now? What are companies going to? Is it industrial? Is it going away from industrial because that's leaving? Is it innovation? Where is the market headed to? I think Winston-Salem, this market, that's a great question, and it's really interesting to study that. This market has been pretty diverse. I think obviously we know that healthcare and banking are two solid industries here. Manufacturing is pretty solid. I think you look back at a few decades ago, sometimes you'd look at one town and it was known for one thing, like Winston-Salem used to be known for tobacco. and it would become hard when that one industry or that one company left or downsized, and so the town or the community would be reeling from that. Winston-Salem, I think, has positioned itself right now pretty well to be pretty diverse. It has a pretty strong industrial base. It has a decent definitely innovation and arts. So it's definitely very, very diverse overall, and it's been it's definitely a stronger employment market. There's been more opportunity than really most metro areas in the country.
Yeah, I've seen firsthand what a one company town does.
Yes.
I lived in Anderson, Indiana, where it was a GM plant town. When when GM left, every fourth house was foreclosed on.
Wow, that's
so
tough.
It totally beat up the town.
Yeah.
And it became a ghost town.
Yeah, that's rough. I know that's happened a lot in the Midwest. Well, it's happened in the Northeast a few decades ago, as a lot of manufacturing came down here, and of course it's happened in a lot of southern towns. So that's tough. But I do think we're much better positioned today, and we do have a good diverse market.
Mm. So do you place a lot in the innovation corridor, or are you still trying to break into the innovation corridor?
I haven't done a lot with the innovative companies. The when I say innovative, I'm talking about the new concept, new ideas. I'm not talking about just a general startup. I haven't done a lot there. Most of where we've worked have been with the companies that have been around a few decades. Some of them for over 100 years. The ones that are maybe don't catch the headlines as much, but are the tried and true type of companies. Talking about manufacturers that make make anything you can imagine, from products to software to still some textiles. So most of them have not been necessarily what we would necessarily consider the exciting ones, but they are tried and true, and they're the stable companies. Often, for example, a lot of privately held small to mid-sized businesses.
So we're running out of time, but what would you recommend to someone coming up in the industry, and how they break in?
I'll give two pieces of advice. The first one is we were talking about it a little before. Make sure you go in with the right motives. Don't do it just for yourself or for self-fulfillment. You'll burn out and get discouraged. And plus, it's not the right thing to do. Do it because you love helping others and find a way to help others. I would also say, if you're starting out, make sure initially to make as many phone calls, make as many appointments, meet with as many people as possible. I believe social media and texting and email are all important, and those are helpful from just a time management side. But I would definitely say focus on building a relationship. Meet with people in person. I know that's tough right now during the era of COVID. If need be, have Zoom meetings or talk with people on the phone, but you've got to talk to as many people as possible and build as many relationships as possible.
Yeah, with the Small Business Spotlight, we're trying to put spotlights on businesses to build those businesses up and essentially put a spotlight on them. Well, we're running out of time, but I want to thank you for coming in, and we look forward to having you again, hopefully, and you have a good rest of your weekend.
All right. Thank you, Josh. Thanks for having me on.
WTOB's Small Business Spotlight is brought to you by Fortified Futures. Fortified Futures understands each client is unique and faces different challenges. If you have financial needs, call Fortified Futures at 336-450-2161. Rest assured, your future is fortified. By Forsyth County Habitat for Humanity Restores. The Restores need your good reusable furniture or home goods. For your free donation pickup, call 336-893-8494. You too can help Habitat eliminate substandard housing. Sherlock CRM. Struggling to grow your business? Sherlock CRM is a customized solution that provides a forensic interview with key users from your company. Lock in your flat rate subscription for unlimited users today. Find answers for your business at SherlockCRM.com. Join us again right here next week. Josh welcomes Jake Shepard from Paychecks and Corey Hodges from Fortified Futures. Next week on WTOB's Small Business Spotlight.